Today we're going to be looking at how to solve one-step addition equations. We have a couple of examples that we're going to work through together here, so let's get started. For question number 1, we're being asked to calculate the value of n in this problem. And as we can see up top here highlighted in yellow, in order for us to isolate our variable of n here, we're going to have to perform the inverse or the opposite operation of whatever is being done to n. So here we can see that we're going to be adding 13 onto n. So in order for us to isolate our variable of n, we're going to perform the opposite operation so that we can undo anything that's being done to our variable. So here we have adding 13, and the opposite operation of adding 13 is subtracting 13. So we're going to subtract 13 here. But as we can see highlighted in blue, we need to make sure that we're keeping both sides equal. So since we're subtracting 13 from the left side of the equation, we need to make sure that we're doing the same thing to the right side of the equation so that we can keep things equal. So we also need to subtract 13 from the right-hand side of the equation as well too. Well, since we're subtracting 13 from adding 13, that's going to cancel itself out. So that's going to isolate our variable of n. And then we're going to subtract 13 from 44 in order for us to figure out the value of n, which we know gives us 31. So that means that n has a value of 31. And if you want to double check this to make sure that this is correct, then we're simply just going to plug in our value for n and see if we get the same answer. So instead of having n here, we're now going to have 31 plus 13 equals 44. And to double check to make sure that this value is correct, we're going to add 31 and 13, which does give us 44. And since both sides of this equation are balanced, it means that n does in fact equal 31. Now moving on to question number 2, where this time we're being asked to calculate the value of x. So in order for us to isolate our variable of x, we need to perform the opposite operation of whatever's being done to x. And here we're adding 22, and the opposite operation of adding 22 is subtracting 22, but we need to make sure that we do this to both sides of the equation. So we're also going to take away 22 from the right side of the equation as well. And the plus 22 and subtract 22 cancel themselves out because they come up to 0. So now we're going to isolate our value of x, and then we're going to subtract 22 from 25 for the right-hand side of this equation, which is going to give us 3. So x is equal to 3. And again, if we want to double check this, we can simply just plug in the value for x and then work through the calculation. So we have 3 plus 22 equals 25. And when we add 3 and 22, it does give us 25. So that means that x does equal 3. So to make sure we have this down, I encourage you to pause this video and give these problems a try on your own, and then we're going to work through the answers together. So for question number 3, we're being asked to calculate the value of n. So the first thing we need to do is we need to isolate the variable by undoing anything that's being done to the variable. And to do this, we're going to perform the opposite operation. So here we have plus 55 that's being done to n. So to undo this, we're going to subtract 55, and then we're going to make sure that we do the same thing to our right side as well. So we're going to take away 55 from both sides of our equation to make sure that it's balanced. So the left side of the equation, plus 55 and subtracting 55, cancel each other out, so now they have a value of 0. So we've isolated for n, and then for the right-hand side, we're going to subtract 55 from 65, which we know gives us 10. So n is equal to 10. And if we want to double check this, well, we're going to plug in the value for n into this equation. So we have 10 plus 55 equals 65. And when we add 10 and 55 together, we get 65. And since both sides of this equation are balanced, it means that we have the correct answer. N is equal to 10. Now moving on to our last problem, where this time we're being asked to calculate for the value of x. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to isolate for our variable of x by performing the opposite operation of anything that's been done to it. So here we've added 15, so we're going to subtract 15. We're going to do the opposite operation, and then we need to make sure that we're doing the same thing to the other side of the equation as well. So on our left-hand side, we're also going to be subtracting 15. And since we're adding and subtracting 15 on our right-hand side, it's going to cancel each other out, so that's going to isolate our variable of x. And then on our left-hand side, we're going to be taking away 15 from 47, which we know gives us 32. And then we're going to rewrite this just so that our variable comes first. X is equal to 32. And if we want to double check this to make sure that this is correct, we're going to plug in our value for x. So we have 47 equals 15 plus 32. And when we add 15 and 32, we get 47. So since both sides of this equation are equal, it means that x does in fact equal 32. So hopefully by now you understand how to solve one-step addition equations. Help make math less complicated by smashing those like and subscribe buttons. As always, enjoy today's math journey.